Joe Biden called Vladimir Putin a war criminal. So just for everybody for the Ukraine situation, and Aaron Mate is going to go over this in this clip, but first we're going to play Joe Biden calling Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, a war criminal, and I'm going to tell you exactly why we're going to cover it. And it's because the media lies all the time. But let's play this. It's from Jimmy Dore. What?
I remember I got criticized for calling Putin a war criminal. Well, the truth of the matter, you saw what happened in Bucha. This warrants him. He is a war criminal. But we have to gather the information. We have to continue to provide Ukraine with the weapons they need to continue the fight.
Why do you need to continue the fight? Why do you need to continue the fight? You know why you got criticized for calling him a war criminal? Number one is because you're a hypocrite. That's probably the reason why.
And we have to gather all the details so this can be have a war crime trial. This guy is brutal. And what's happening in Bucha is outrageous. And everyone's seen it.
Genocide?
No, I think it is a war crime.
What are you going to do about it, sir? Are you going to do more sanctions on Russia?
I'm seeking more sanctions, yes. I'll have time to announce that.
Yeah, let me tell you though. There's a few things I take issue with. This guy voted for the legislation that gave war criminal in chief the ability to kill over 250,000 people in Iraq. I'm talking about George W. Bush. This guy also supported war criminal in chief in order to make sure that the drone strike program is expanded in killing a whole bunch of innocent civilians, including a 9-year-old American citizen child when in Yemen and other places when he expanded the drone war with Barack Obama. So I don't know about war criminals, but this guy sounds mighty close to one, or in fact, he sounds mighty close to two himself.
No kidding. And you can still hear me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're right. And what did him and Obama do? They took us into 5 more wars. Now, let me just say this, folks. Al Gore or whoever else would have come in would have taken us into those 5 wars. I'm sorry. I like Al Gore. Oh, my Al Gore. But they would have taken us into those 5 wars. But Obama and Biden dropped more bombs than George W. Bush and George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton. In 8 years, Obama dropped more bombs than President George W. Bush.
Who's a war criminal himself.
But, you know, Obama went into Libya, he went into Syria, he went into Sudan, he went into Pakistan, kept Afghanistan going, he kept Iraq going, he went into Africa, he went into Somalia, started bombing for no apparent reason. We have a shadow war in Africa. We are aiding Saudi Arabia in a genocide, giving them weapons, allowing for a blockade of food to prevent food and medicine and nutritional healthy things and first aid and all of that. And then Joe Biden, and they had a 90% civilian death rate with their drone strikes. Remember how they said, "Oh, we have precision strikes. We got precision strikes. We know exactly who we're hitting. I'm hitting the show tonight." No, but then Daniel Hale, you know who Daniel Hale is, right? He came out and said, "I'm tired of droning these people. I'm tired of sitting at a computer droning these people." You saw his statement where he said, "I'm sorry for releasing papers. If that's where you're going to send me to jail, go ahead." And that was very powerful because he stood in that mountain watching those people get droned to death, get blown to pieces. And Joe Biden approved of that. And Joe Biden also approved of the Iraq war, which came with that was a war crime in itself, which came with other war crimes within it. You know, the torture program, you know, the grounds, the Abu Dhabi and Abu Ghraib. No, not Abu Dhabi. Abu Ghraib and what's the other one?
Bagram in Afghanistan. You mean the air base over there?
Yeah, but also the where we keep outside, Abu Ghraib and in Cuba and somewhere.
Oh, Guantanamo
Bay. So he knew all about that, and he approved of those wars. He approved. So
And as war criminal in chief himself, remember Joe Biden oversaw an operation that was supposed to kill an ISIS-K leader, but ultimately killed a family of 10 civilians, with I think 7 of whom were children, maybe.
Yes. And not only that, but we're helping in Yemen. We're giving Israel I hope I'm saying it right. We're giving them billions of dollars, $115 billion a year, whatever it is, for their Iron Dome program, which they do not need our help. They give their people universal health care, by the way, in Israel, and we don't have it here. And
if they want Iron Dome, they could fund it themselves.
Exactly, and they do already fund it. If they don't need U.S. money, it's for their defense system. Who's coming at Israel? Nobody. They're the ones pushing Palestine out of the West Bank. Anyway, and bombing them and taking away their education and killing their children.
But he's war criminal in chief. Joe Biden.
He is war criminal in chief. That's who Joe Biden is. And Joe, the venue where they prosecute war criminals. If you really want to take, they do it in the International Criminal Court, the ICC, which the United States won't join because they don't want their own officials getting prosecuted and headed to jail. Because George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi, all of them would be in jail. I wonder. So it's a bunch of hypocrisy that he's now. I'm so worried about
hypocrisy on that.
The Ukrainians and this and that. So this is hypocrisy from Joe Biden. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Joe Biden showing he doesn't care about this. Now, the thing about Ukraine, ladies and gentlemen, while I get the next clip up, Chrome is not responding. But the thing about Ukraine is this. The United States did a coup in 2014. They used the Azov battalion to overthrow the democratically elected government. The new Ukrainian government, the Nazi Ukrainian government, started shelling the people in the Donbass region in Luhansk and Donetsk and Luhansk. And finally, Putin had to go in and invade to try and protect his people. He created this brutal war of 8 years. So that's what happened is they created all of that. Okay. And they had a Minsk agreement. The Minsk agreement was basically a diplomatic way for them, for that Putin agreed to, and that Zelensky and all of them, the United States had agreed to, that said, hey, stop shelling people, stop bombing people. We'll stop bombing you, and we'll stop shooting everybody. And you let the rebels hold elections and all of that. For 8 years, Putin stood by while they did not do it. So they didn't follow that agreement. So finally, Putin had to go in this time because he's protecting the people that are united with Russia most of the time. They speak Russian. They consider themselves Russian natives because they just keep doing it. So here's a BBC clip, and I wanted you to comment on this.
Oh, that BBC propaganda. All right, serve it up.
And let me serve you up some propaganda right here. Here we go.
Ukrainian troops northwest of Kiev, slowing the advance of Russian forces, hoping to save their capital and perhaps focus minds in Moscow. Officials from both sides continue to talk, looking for a negotiated settlement. The Kremlin said the discussions were positive, but neither side says where the progress is being made. Today, though, Ukraine's president addressed a gathering of Northern European leaders in London and dropped a hint of what might be part of any future negotiated settlement.
Ukraine is not a member of NATO. We have heard for years that the doors were open, but we also heard that we could not join. It's a truth, and it must be recognized.
Hold on. I just want to, because we're going to play Jimmy Dore and Aaron Mate's clip. What is Zelensky admitting there, right, Naime? He's admitting we've known for years that we've wanted to join NATO, but we've also known it's not going to happen. That's what he just admitted right there. Am I wrong?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Pretty straightforward. And I need people to know that because we're going to cover even more. But watch this.
Hint of giving up the idea of joining NATO may be seen by some as a concession to this man, Russia's foreign minister, who today, as he met his Iranian counterpart, set out some of Moscow's demands.
The
neutral military status of Ukraine, security guarantees for all participants, the demilitarization of Ukraine, so that no threats to the Russian Federation ever come from its territory.
The European leaders, hosted by Boris Johnson, were not, however, in London to talk about possible peace deals.
Oh, I want hear everybody saying we need peace. We need peace. I wonder what else they would talk about. Hold on. Let this British dude tell us why. What they would talk about instead of peace. Aren't you curious, Naime?
Very curious. I mean, isn't peace the ultimate goal here? Let's stop killing them civilians.
Right. Let's just get back to normal. Let's get back to our normal corruption. So I wonder. Let's figure out what they were talking about.
But how to bolster their defences in case the war spreads and increase their support for Ukraine.
What's your take there?
Oh wow. Well, all I have to say. Excuse me. All I have to say is business as usual, man. I mean, they got to continue maintaining those defenses. They got to ensure that they go ahead and make more money and more profiteer off of things. And it's interesting to see how BBC frames it. Like, peace is a whole bunch of non-business related nonsense. The real people, the people who matter, Boris Johnson and the like, are sitting down and doing the real business. And the real business is, this war is going to go outside of Ukraine. I'm horny for some good war. Let's get it started. Right? Like, they want it to go outside of Ukraine. They want it to become World War III because, man, they're going to cash in. They're going to cash in a lot selling all those weapons. So
most of them would get destroyed. Well, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
But they'll take their money and run.
Oh, yeah, they'll go to space with Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Bill Gates. And Bill Gates will get them their digital IDs. The other part is, what's interesting is, we need to bolster our defense because this war, we don't want to spread and we don't want to get more and more. Wow, amazing. I mean, you put it very well.
The only way it's not going to spread is by promoting peace. I mean, yesterday you saw the foreign minister, or was it the defense minister? Oh no, it was the foreign minister of Ukraine. He was out there, basically the equivalent of the Secretary of State. He was out there at a NATO meeting in Brussels with Antony Blinken, and he was saying the only reason we're out here, the Ukrainians are out here at this meeting in Brussels, is not to talk about, and I think it was Brussels. He's like, is not to talk about. The reason they were out there is to talk about how Ukraine can get more guns. Instead of saying like Medea Benjamin from Code Pink highlighted, she tweeted, instead of guns, there should be talk about how can we get negotiations, ultimately achieve peace.
Exactly.
And even when Zelensky wants to strive for peace, let's suppose he does, right? The United States ain't giving him that off-ramp by sanctioning Moscow to the high heavens.
Yeah. So two things. Number one, because I forgot to hit that part that Biden said. The whole they're not out here to talk peace. They have boxes of unopened boxes of missiles, untouched, sitting in the Ukrainian government. Raytheon delivering those. I mean, you're going to tell me you need more than what you already have? Okay. And you watch how the BBC's news coverage turns from, well, we don't want peace to we want peace. Watch.
This is quite unbelievable what is happening now in our continent. And we need to make sure that we build the strongest, widest possible.
Pause for a second. In our continent, whatever happened to Boris Johnson campaigning so hard for Brexit? Our continent, my ass. Now it's our continent. When there's money involved. And there's defense contracts involved.
Exactly. And now they're Russian. Now they're not Russian separatists. Now, when Ukraine was bombing them, the people in the Donbass region, in Donetsk and Luhansk, they're Russian separatists. Now they're Ukrainians. Oh, I didn't know that there was a difference.
Oh man,
Right? You see that? Okay.
Yeah,
coalition to ensure that Vladimir Putin does not succeed, that we wean ourselves off Russian hydrocarbons.
Well, wean yourself off of all hydrocarbons, please and thank you.
Well, please, everybody. But it's a fossil fuel war. That's what Boris Johnson just gave away there. Because guess what they did? They stopped the Nord Stream pipeline.
Yeah.
Nord Stream, what is it called? Nord Stream oil pipeline, whatever?
Nord Stream 2 or whatever, yeah.
Nord Stream 2 pipeline.
2.
Nord Stream 2A pipeline.
Two-way
pipeline.
Yeah, now they
stopped
they're
that.
Try to get some Canadian
right, because now Russia provides 40% of the oil to Europe. Well, guess what? At Comcast, ExxonMobil, and all the whoever other companies, I don't know the other oil companies here, they are saying, why do we need Europe? We could do that. We can provide the EU with all of our oil. U.S. oil. Export. That's what this is about. It's not about peace. It's not about the people of Ukraine, ladies and gentlemen, like they claim. It's about oil, like all wars are. What's the Iraq war about? Oil. What resources in Palestine?
There's a lot of resources and a lot of religion and a lot of.
But what are the resources that the U.S. are after?
Well, there is believed to be some gas reserves in the Mediterranean coast.
And then there's, I think, nylon or something like that in Afghanistan.
Oh, Afghanistan has a lot too. Lithium. They have copper.
Nylon,
they have cobalt.
copper.
They have opium. Opium for some good heroin. You know.
Yum.
No. And here's the thing: you think heroin's an underground business? Governments trade in heroin, bro. They trade in opium.
Oh.
They'll tell you they don't, but they do.
I bet they have child sex slaves too. So.
Oh yeah, you get those in Libya.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, they said that Muammar Gaddafi had child sex slaves and that there were terrorists all over. And meanwhile, Muammar Gaddafi was killing the terrorists. And as soon as he started trying to actually help the people, now we got to go take down a dictator, which Hillary Clinton. Oh, by the way, that's a war crime too, regime change war. And Biden and Obama and Hillary all supported that. And Blinken.
Oh, they're hard for some regime change war right now in Russia. You heard Biden spill the beans about removing Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, he must.
This man can no longer remain in power.
And then they walked it back immediately. Like, he didn't mean regime change. He did not mean regime change. All right.
Western leaders know that a negotiated settlement will become possible only if Vladimir Putin sees no alternative. And that's why they're determined to keep up the pressure on Moscow.
What does that mean if there's no alternative for Putin?
I mean, what are you saying? We go in there and Putin has two choices. We kill him or he does suicide. Is that what you guys are referring to in no alternative? You're trying to bring back some World War II hocus pocus? Like,
because you say until Vladimir Putin has no alternative. Do what the West wants? Is that what you want? You know Putin's not going to do that.
Bend over backwards for their asses.
Moscow, militarily, economically, and diplomatically. And what better way to do that than this? 3 NATO prime ministers from Poland, Slovenia and the Czech Republic visiting war-torn Kiev by train, a show of solidarity and Russia's failure to seize the capital. There were more economic sanctions for Russia too, the EU banning the export of luxury goods and Britain imposing asset freezes and travel bans on 370 Russians, including a defence minister, a former prime minister, and oligarchs and their families, along with many allies of Vladimir Putin. But all the pressure, all the diplomacy has yet to halt the Russian advance, and the devastation of Ukraine's cities continues.
Okay. What did they say there? We have sanctioned the out of Russia. We are preventing medicine and food and first aid and health products and beauty products and feminine hygiene products and masculine hygiene products and all those things from getting into Russia, and yet Putin's still going. Meaning sanctions don't work. They're admitting right there, hey, these sanctions are not working. And Biden wants more sanctions. Naime?
Yeah, I mean, Pretty straightforward. We saw it in Iran. We saw it in Syria. We saw it in North Korea. We saw it in Libya. We saw it in Iraq. We're seeing it in Afghanistan. Sanctions aren't going to make much of a difference ever. If anything, they strengthen the popularity of
the person in charge.
Of the person. Look, I mean, you brought a segment from Crystal and Saga earlier in this live stream. They had a good piece earlier this week talking about how Putin's popularity has actually many indications show that it has risen in Russia, and the economic impact to Russia has hit the average Russian more than the oligarchs. The oligarchs have more than enough reserves to protect themselves.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you really want to see success with sanction, you go and target the specific oligarchs up and down. Be my guest. But these broad sweeping, wide implicating sanctions that are levied against the whole country aren't going to do anything but bolster the popularity of the president, because Putin's going to say, see how much the West hates us, and cause more discontent among the Russian people against the West and against the US, the UK, and Europe. So, I mean, you're pushing Russia more and more into China's hands, which, China's happy to gobble Russia up right now.
They're already out. They're already allies. So it's not like they're, China, we need allies. Do not cancel me.
You're strengthening
their alliance
from more of a strategic alliance to a genuine friendship and trust.
Because Xi Jinping is gonna ally more, and they already have our securities. Securities, our currencies, our dollars, right? All of that. Japan and China have all that.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw how what's scaring the United States right now is that the petrodollar. You saw that how it's dropping in value.
It's dropping in value. Saudi Arabia has already announced that they're considering selling petroleum and oil resources, Saudi oil resources, to China in the Chinese currency, the renminbi, the yuan, which goes against the whole ethos, the whole essence of the petrodollar. So, and we should get into that at some point. Why Saudi Arabia is actually, quote unquote, standing up to big brother United States. That's it's an interesting conversation, and that's not to glorify Saudi, because it's not to glorify Saudi, but there's a lot of conversation there and a lot of nuance worth discussing.
Oh yeah, maybe we'll talk about doing a live stream hopefully next week if you can. But exactly, I mean, and so that's what's scaring them, and all these sanctions, they're now hitting the average Russian person. Okay, that's not Iran, the Revolutionary Guard. Who's the president right now?
Ibrahim Raisi.
He's not stopping his beliefs. The Revolutionary Guard is going further away from the United States. And now, because the United States is trying to stop buying oil from Russia, guess who they're trying to make deals with? Venezuela and Iran. I thought they were terrible people. I thought Venezuela were dictators. And by the way, Biden started calling Nicolas Maduro, Mr. President of Venezuela.
Whatever happened to Juan Guaido?
Whatever happened to Juan Guaido? Oh, now that it's convenient, now it's President Maduro. Maduro, how are you doing, Mr. President? Oh,